Hey guys, today we're going to go over the world's cheapest cruise. Apparently, it was only $11 a day. Sounds like a bad idea, especially for the food.
Recently took the world's cheapest cruise at just $11 a day. I had no idea what to expect, but I will say this cruise was eventful to say the least. From traveling to some of the most
Yeah, I bet.
popular and beautiful destinations in the world, to being entertained, to seeing parties that parents wouldn't want to see their kids at, comedians that
All
say
right.
the N word repeatedly, and even fights, I gotta admit, this vacation cruise did somewhat shock me.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be Carnival already, just because it is the cheapest cruise to take usually. And yeah, there's usually a fight, some over the top clubbing, and all around eventful times at a Carnival
However,
cruise.
I'll talk about some of those events later on in the video. Now, before we dive too deep into this video, I do want to put a brief and small disclaimer out there. I'm going to be discussing the good, the bad, and ugly of this cheap $11 a day cruise. And regardless of what shirt I'm currently wearing, this is not Disney World. There are pros and cons to everything. So for all you carnival lovers out there that are going to get hurt and offended, well, you're gonna have to suck it up on this one. So the world's cheapest
Yep.
cruise would be a 4-night sailing on board the Carnival Conquest sailing to the Caribbean. Now this ship would be a seasoned cruise ship launched in 2002. It has 13 decks, holds 3,000 passengers, and cost $500 million to build. The initial cost for this cruise right out of the gate would be $50 for an interior stateroom. After all the port fees and taxes would be applied, the total will come out to $192 with an onboard credit of $50. My cruise will be sailing out of the largest cruise port on the entire planet, Port Miami. Upon
Yeah, it is a pretty big cruise port, and that is one of the easiest things to get on and off of. Actually, like I've been on a couple of cruises out of Miami since I'm from here, and yeah, it's pretty cake to get in and out of the boat.
arrival to the
To be honest.
terminal from start to finish, by that I mean going from the terminal to getting on board the cruise ship, the process was very smooth and overall fairly quick. The
Yeah,
only note that I noticed while being there, Carnival calls itself the fun ships. However, when I got there, I want to say the port staff and the employees there weren't exactly fun. They seemed kind of angry and stressed out. However, keep in mind this is the largest cruise port in the world, so there's a lot going on when you stack it up to the smaller cruise ports where the portsmen and everybody there have a little bit more time to kind of hang out with everybody and
man, that dude looked
give you a
pissed.
good experience right out of the gate. When I did board the Carnival Conquest, something caught my eye immediately about the design of the ship. I've noticed that older Carnival ships have this wacky, tacky theme going on. Now, I like it personally, and this ship in particular, the
Mhm.
Carnival Conquest, had
This
somewhat
guy
of
likes
a
the
fresh
wacky
theme
tacky, man.
going on with it because the ship was originally designed to sail out of New Orleans and they wanted to pay respects to that area. Upon boarding the ship, unfortunately, I had a 2.5 hour wait to finally get into my room and drop my bags off. Now, this process is not uncommon on any particular ship. However, I was a little bummed out that I had to carry my bag around, but so did everybody else, so it is what it is. But I did use this time to just explore the ship and see what she
Well, if you pay $11 a day, it is
had to
what it is.
offer. So one thing that I want to point out that I've noticed about these older Carnival ships compared to the newer ones is that I do believe that they overall have the best design, especially when it came to the Carnival Conquest. They have bars, pools, hot tubs, restaurants, literally everywhere. Everything flows pretty well, and they even have an area that's kind of like a pool and hot tub area with an attractable roof. They also have dedicated nightclubs, they have a golf course. I just think overall the utilization of the space on board.
Yeah, if you haven't been on a cruise, the smell of chlorine in those pools because of people obviously, doing stuff in the pool you're not supposed to be doing. Yeah, it gets really strong.
Carnival Conquest was absolutely amazing. Just keep in mind on a cruise ship, from a business perspective, every single square inch on board a cruise ship is considered real estate that must be used to hopefully generate some profit. My cabin was as expected. It was small, uneventful, but functional. It was an interior cabin for $50.
I could never do an interior cabin. I've done the windows always, and done the balcony once or twice. I wouldn't say it's worth it for the balcony because you usually just go out on the boat anyway, and the entire boat is like a balcony. But yeah, it's nice to have a balcony and just kind of chill there by yourself. If you're more of a recluse, just want to hang out, drink some drinks in your room, and and have a good time. The room service is free. All you gotta do is tip. You know, it's not that bad. So, I mean, you can have a good time on a
What do
cruise.
you expect on an older seasoned ship? Now, I'm not really picky at all. Interiors these days aren't really my favorite because there is no sunlight. For most people, it will throw your sleep schedule out, but that was the least of my concerns. I will say that thankfully I wasn't on one of these decks, but it seemed like every other deck there was a hint of sewage on board. Now, I do always say that Carnival's older seasoned ships are usually pretty well kept. But like I said,
A
every other
hint
deck you just
of
kind of smelled
sewage.
this, and for every other deck that you didn't smell the sewage, there was a small hint of Mary Jane on board. But I'll talk more about that later because
Oh yeah, I mean, if you're gonna smell sewage, I'd rather smell Mary Jane.
that
That's for sure.
situation got pretty crazy. The sail away party was great as usual. I always say there is no cruise line out there that does a sail away like Carnival. I think it's the people overall. Everybody just wants to get up and dance and be involved in everything on Carnival ships, more so than like a Royal Caribbean or an NCL. However, I will say when it came to the food on board, it was basically a non-event. There was one restaurant on board, a steakhouse as far as real restaurants. He did have Guy's Burgers. I indulged in that quite a bit while I was there. But when it came to the buffet, well, I was a little disappointed, but I also kind of expected all of this to be there. When it came to the food options at night, they only
Yeah, I mean, a buffet is a buffet. You're not gonna get the best food at a buffet, even if it's on a cruise. Doesn't matter. It's probably worse on a cruise. But yeah, I mean, look at that pizza. I mean, that's a pizza. Where is that pizza? The dough is not cooked. The bread is soft. I mean, it's terrible. But if you're walking around the boat at 1 in the morning and you don't want to go to sleep yet, you want to keep drinking, you can have some pizza.
only had pirate pizza. I will say the food and pizza rather on board these ships are absolutely amazing and they will surprise you and somewhat blow you away.
Amazing.
But I was
All
disappointed
right.
in the fact that somebody somewhere stole the Parmesan cheese and there was no more available. That one kind of bummed me
That's
out
funny.
because it happened at the very beginning of the cruise. When it comes to
You had
the
one parm for the whole
environment
trip.
overall leading into the nightlife, I gotta say that it was a very active crowd. Like I said, Carnival people are usually very involved with all the activities and festivities that are going on.
Yeah, that's one thing. The shows are usually really good. The comedians are usually hilarious. I've seen some really good comedians there. I've seen some famous guys on there, and then the musical shows are usually good. So it's nice. You know, it's not the best stuff in the world, but it's a good time.
Board. There were definitely a lot of new and first time cruisers and travelers on board. And when it came to the smoking area, well, I gotta say, I got contact high just being over there. It was absolutely wild. Like I said, you could smell weed in the hallways, and believe it or not, I promise you this is true. What blew me away is that there were multiple people that were running around selling weed on the ship. Somebody even came to knock on my door to ask me if I wanted to buy some weed. Now, I don't think this guy was just
A little door to door salesman. That's
randomly
not bad.
going door to door asking people these types of questions. I think he saw that I was on his deck and he came to my room and, well, he asked me if I wanted to buy some. I didn't take it, of course. Weed is not really my thing. I've done it a couple times, let's be honest here, but it's not something that I do regularly. When it came to the nightclub, I gotta say, it was a little ratchet and ghetto and hood up in there. I mean, I don't mean this in a race way. They had all types of flavors and colors in there, and everybody was twerking and throwing it back. And well, I did for the most part have a good time in there because I'm somebody that is adaptable. I can blend in and I can have fun in really any type of scenario or environment. Only thing I would say is that when it came to the nightclub and just kind of some of the environment on board, people were a little hostile from time to time. I would see arguments in the smoking area. There was almost a fight in my hallway because there was somebody down the hall that was blasting music. Security would come over and over again. They even came to my room and asked me to turn the music down. I didn't even have a speaker. Then they finally found out who it was, but prior to that, the neighbor ended up coming to the room. He's knocking on the door.
Yeah, there's always somebody trying to just act like they're on that boat by
Well, more
themselves.
so banging on it because that music was loud. He told the guy, he said, hey, if you don't turn that down, I'm going to call security. Next thing I know, they're yelling back and forth. And thankfully,
It's usually the guy who goes on vacation like once every 2 years and is like, I'm gonna have the most fun. I don't care what anybody says, and then just kind of ruins it for himself because they're so self-absorbed
The
about the whole
security
thing.
did eventually show up to kind of break it up. At the nightclub, there was almost a fight as well. There was a girl that was sitting in a chair, and then she got up out of the chair. Somebody took the chair, and well, they almost got into a scuffle over that. But there was a actual fight on the last night on the cruise. I could feel the steam building up the whole time I was there. I knew it was going to happen, so I had my camera ready just in case. Naturally, I even was able to interview a nice gentleman that was holding one of the girls back from the fight. Apparently, it was all over a man. Somebody wanted someone else's man, and they were looking at the man the wrong way. And just like that, they called out fisticuffs and got right into it. It was absolutely wild. Now, moving on, if there is one thing I hate with a passion, it's the constant announcements on board Carnival ships. Now, somebody made a valid point, at least when it came to the older ships. They said that maybe there were a lot of new cruisers, which there were typically on the older ships. They don't exactly know the game plan. They don't know the flow. They don't know the events as far as bingo and karaoke. They don't know all this stuff is going on, even if it is on the app. However, I would argue I've been on newer Carnival ships, I've been on older Carnival ships, and I've sailed with almost every mainstream line. Carnival is the only one that every hour, it seems like maybe even every 30 minutes, they get on the PA and they start announcing every single event that is going on for the rest of the day. For me, it is absolutely annoying, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I didn't have that experience. I felt like it was every once in a while, not that often. But yeah, it's good to know what's going on. But yeah, just look at the app, hands out some brochures when people get on the boat. Don't
My
be so
Carnival
annoying.
does that, but it's just something that I absolutely cannot stand. I'm thinking about just wearing earplugs throughout the day whenever I'm on the Carnival cruise ships moving forward. Now let's talk about the destinations. We had two ports of call for this 4-day sailing to the Caribbean. We had Princesses, which is part of Carnival, the Carnival Corporation, Princess Cay. It's their private island located over in the Bahamas. And while the place was extremely beautiful, it's a beautiful tropical destination. The Bahamas is one of the most beautiful places in the world. We all know this. The island itself was a non event. There were no crazy slides. There were no jet skis. There was no scuba diving. Like, for me, I like all this big stuff. Keep in mind, it's a personal preference for me. I would say this is like a starter pack island, if you will. And I mean no disrespect by it. But I know the people over there genuinely had fun. Remember, there were a lot of new cruisers, and a lot of the people that I talked to were snowbirds. Me, I live in Florida, so I live right by the beach. And as somebody that has also been to other parts of the world and other beautiful islands, I hate to compare it, but we got to talk about another private island, Perfect Day at Coco Cay. I swear while I was there, I would never compare, but it was just too tempting. This island has nothing on any of the other private islands, especially that of which being Perfect Day at Coco Cay. Royal Caribbean wins in that category. Fight me if you want to. I'm joking, guys, but just, hey, it is what it is.
Yeah, Coco Cay is a lot better. I've been there, a lot better than whatever the island is for Carnival. Coco Cay is a lot nicer, a lot more chill. Food's always better on Royal Caribbean, also.
Royal
So
Caribbean has Carnival, and just about every other cruise line beat in that category. When it came to the entertainment on board the Carnival Conquest, they did have bands, they had comedians, which I'll talk about in a second, and of course they had a few production shows. Now, the production shows on board the Carnival Conquest were the exact same shows that were on board the Carnival Paradise, which I was sailing on just 1 week prior. I will say, when it comes to Carnival, because I have not only sailed on Carnival's older ships, I literally just got off a 2-week transatlantic sailing on Carnival's newest and largest ship, the Carnival Celebration. I just want to say,
yo, you see the storm? You saw that storm in the background? Look at that.
Carnival's newest and
Let's
largest
see.
ship, the Carnival Celebration.
You see the storm in the background? Yeah, I'm not trying to live through that. Um, looks like a great time, buddy. You get what you pay for, is the moral of the story, as usual. I would say, definitely if you have the means, go with Royal. Carnival is a good option. It's not that bad. Just, don't go during hurricane season, or you might get something like this. It's usually a good time on a cruise. You get to chill. A lot of people there. You get to mingle, talk with a lot of different people. I met some guy who owns the KFC farms when I went. It's pretty crazy. I don't know why he was on there, but apparently he owns KFC farms. Could have been lying. Who knows? You can also do that. You can also just make up who you are and lie to everyone and live some crazy life in the $11 cruise, and people will fall for it like I do. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.